Welcome to our comprehensive guide on how to start your journey in cybersecurity. Whether you are a beginner or someone looking to deepen your knowledge, this roadmap will guide you through the essential steps and skills needed to succeed in this dynamic field. So, without wasting time, let's dive in. But before we proceed and see what are the skills or the things are required to be a cybersecurity professional, let's first of all try to understand why cybersecurity is so important. So, cybersecurity is crucial in today's digital age because it protects individuals, companies, and even countries from cyber threats such as your like data breaches, hacking, and identity theft. It also safeguards sensitive information, ensure privacy, maintain trust in digital system, and preserve the integrity of our critical infrastructure. Without effective cybersecurity measures, we or the companies are vulnerable to financial losses, reputational damage, and even threats to the national security. So here are a couple of statistics of the news that have happened in recent. We can go through it. We are going to provide you a very fine case study. So let's go and see what do we have in our comprehensive guide. So first of all, let's talk about the basics, ethical hacking and information security fundamentals. Now, ethical hacking involves legally breaking into systems to identify vulnerabilities before malicious hackers do. Now, understanding the core principle of this information security, such as your CIA or your confidentiality, integrity, and availability, is very important. Now, this foundation will basically help you to comprehend why cybersecurity is essential and how you can protect the data effectively. So, talking about it, the basic question is like, what is ethical hacking? So, as I said earlier, ethical hacking basically involves legally breaking into computers. Here, the keyword is legally. Okay, that we are having certain set of permissions and authority from the organizations, and now we are legally breaking into their computer or their devices to test their defenses. Ethical hacker, also known as white hats, and they usually use their skills to improve security by exposing vulnerabilities before malicious hackers or black hats can exploit them. This proactive approach basically helps organizations safeguard their data and maintain trust with their customers. Moving ahead, we have information security fundamentals, and these are the basic principles that are designed to protect the data and systems within an organization. These principles are often related to a CIA triad. C basically means your confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So, if I explain you, confidentiality ensures that sensitive information is accessed only by the authorized individuals, whereas integrity ensures that the data remains accurate and unaltered. And availability basically ensures that information and resources are available to those who need them when they need them. Together, these principles form the backbone of a secure information environment. Now, your ethical hacking is basically conducted with the permission and aims to strengthen an organization's defense. Whereas ethical hackers simulate attacks to find weaknesses so they can be fixed before being exploited. Whereas malicious hacking is illegal and aims to cause harm, steal data, or disrupt the services. Malicious hackers, also known as black hats, and they exploit vulnerabilities for personal gain, for monetary purposes, or to inflict damages. An ethical hacker basically needs a diverse set of skills and knowledge areas. Okay, and few of them are basically your networking, programming, operating system, cryptography, and problem solving capabilities. Now, all of these skills we are basically going to discuss in a much more details in our coming up few slides. But still, let me give you a general synopsis like what are these skills actually are for an ethical hacker. So when you're talking about networking, in networking, we are going to understand how networks function and how data travel. Because if you know how the data is traveling, is very important. Because hackers point out these certain steps when the data is traveling from the between the 2 point systems, and they try to compromise it within that time synopsis. So understanding like how the data travel, or what do we have, what are the different stages, we can simply find out any sort of vulnerabilities if it lies there. Next, we have programming. And in programming, we basically going to know how to write and analyze code is essential in order to find vulnerabilities. Then we have operating system. As you have deep knowledge of various operating systems, especially Linux, is very important when you're talking about ethical hacking. But apart from Linux, we also have Windows, we have Mac OS, and then other like tons of subsidiaries of Linux operating system only. After that, we have cryptography, where we are going to understand the encryption method and how they can be bypassed. And at last, one of the most important skill ethical hacker should have is the problem solving. Being able to think like a hacker and solve complex security issues creatively is one of the most important skills a ethical hacker can have. Now, these skills enable ethical hackers to anticipate and counteract potential threats effectively. Moving ahead, let's talk about some like a case study. Now we have the target breach here. Now the target breach of December 2013 is actually one of the most notable cybersecurity incident in recent history. It demonstrates the far-reaching consequences of improper security measures. So actually, what happened here? The attacker gained access to a third-party vendor. There was a third-party vendor associated with the target company. Name was Fazio Mechanical Services, which basically provided refrigeration and HVAC services to the to target. Now, the attacker sent a phishing email to Fazio Mechanical, which resulted in an installation of malware on their system. Now, this malware provided the attackers with access to target's network. And once inside the target's network, the hacker installed a malware on the POS or point of sale system in the target stores. And this malware collected credit and debit card information from customers who shopped at Target during the breach period. Now, the breach resulted in significant financial losses for Target, and the company had to pay almost, I guess, 18.5 million settlement to 47 states and the District of Columbia. Additionally, they spent over $200 million on legal fees, settlements, and enhancement to their security system. The breach damaged Target's reputation and affected the customer trust as well, and it highlighted the vulnerabilities in the supply chain and the importance of securing third party access. So, until now, we have discussed the basics of cybersecurity, like what ethical hacking is, how it is different from the malicious hacking. Okay, and in case if there's an organization who's not taking care of proper cybersecurity measures, so what could go wrong? And here you can see we have a nice case study for regarding target uh, company. So let's go ahead and see the next fundamentals which are going to be required by you in order to create a career in cybersecurity. So the next thing which you're going to discuss is networking. Now, think of cybersecurity like the layout of a busy city. The streets, highway, and intersection all represent the network. A solid grasp of networking concepts such as IP addresses, subnets, routers, and switches is very important. Knowing how data travel across networks and how devices communicate is a fundamental to identify and mitigate security threats. Thinking of it as understanding the layout and vulnerabilities of the roads that is leading to your infrastructure. Now, in order to protect this infrastructure, you need to understand how the data is been moving through it. So let's break down some key networking concept. Okay, here for easy visualization, rather than going for infrastructure, let's take an example of a city. Okay, a city has people, they have roads, a city have vehicles moving through the roads. Okay, so that's what we're gonna visualize now. Okay, rather than visualizing a network infrastructure, we are taking a city for a reference for a easy understanding. So first, let's go and discuss what do we have in the IP addresses. Okay, so an IP address is actually like the address of a house in our city. Okay, in our imaginary city. It tells us where a device is located on the network, and every device connected to the internet has a unique IP address, just like our home addresses are unique. Okay, the devices which are connected to the internet, they have a unique IP addresses um, along with the other devices what we have in our network. After that, we have subnets. Now, subnets are like different neighborhoods within the city. Okay, just like my neighborhood is your neighborhood in the same city, but it's a different neighborhood, right? So, subnet are like that. They help organize and manage the traffic actually. Devices in the same subnet can communicate directly with each other, and this organization makes it easier to manage and secure the network traffic. After that, we have the routers. Now you can assume routers as like traffic police that have been stationed to different sort of intersection. And routers are basically responsible for directing the traffic, making sure that the data packet reach their correct destination. Just as a traffic police officer direct cars to different streets, routers guide data to different part of the network. And after that, we have switches. Now, switches are like roundabouts in the city that control the flow of a traffic within a neighborhood. They connect devices within a single subnet, ensuring smooth communication within a local network. Now, understanding these concepts is crucial for cybersecurity. Knowing how data travel across network and how devices communicate with each other help us to identify and mitigate security threats. For example, if there's unusual traffic on a particular road, it could indicate a problem that needs addressing. Similarly, unusual data patterns on a network could signal a potential cyber threat. Now, in cybersecurity, knowing the layout of the network, the loads, and the highway of our city allow us to spot vulnerabilities and take actions before any threat can cause harm. This knowledge helps us protect our digital city from cyber attacks, ensuring that data flows smoothly and securely. So here we have like a snapshot of a small network where we have the internet, we have router, we have hub or switches, we have servers, we have endpoint devices like my laptop, my computers, my servers, etc., etc. Now, how they're communicating with each other, how they're sending the data, how they're making sure that if the packet is for server 2 here, it's only going to be sent to this server 2 only and not any other server. So this is something which is taken care by the your networking department only, and how the communication is being made and how the data get transferred. For that, we are going to jump over the OSI model, which is a fundamental concept in networking. Now think of the OSI model as a series of steps that data takes as it travels from one device to another. Each step or layer has a specific role in handling the data. Okay, so first of all, we have the physical layer. So physical layer, imagine the physical layer as the road and the highway in our city. It represents the actual physical connections such as cables and switches that carry the data. This layer is responsible for transmitting raw bits over a physical medium. After that, we have data link layer. Now, the data link layer is like the vehicle on our roads, ensuring data moves smoothly between different devices. It handles error detection and correction, which ensure data is accurately sent and received over the physical medium. Now think of as the traffic rules that prevent accidents and ensure the smooth flow. After that, we have network layer, and the network layer is similar to the city's map, determining the best route for data to travel from one place to another. It handles IP addressing and routing, making sure data packets find the correct destination. Followed by, we have the transport layer. Now, the transport layer is like a delivery service, okay, which makes sure that the data is delivered reliably and in a proper order. It also manages end-to-end communications and error recovery, much like a courier, ensuring that your package has arrived safely and on time. In transport layer, we have actually two types of communication protocol. One is your TCP, second one is your UDP. We are going to discuss about this in a more detail in our coming up lectures on the coming presentations of ours. Anyways, moving ahead, we have session layers. Now the session layer setup manages and terminates connection between devices. It's like a phone operator who establish and maintain the connection during a call, ensuring the communication session stays open as long as it is needed to be. Moving ahead, we have the presentation layer. Now, the presentation layer translate data between the application layer and the network. It's like a translator converting a message into a language that both sender and receiver could understand. And this layer also handles a data encryption, compression, and translation. What data encryption is all about, we'll be discussing about very shortly. Moving ahead, and the last layer which we have in the OSI is basically my application layer. Okay, now finally, the application layer is the user interface where the data is presented to and received from the end user. It's like the storefronts and services in a city that people interact with. Now, this layer includes protocols like HTTP for web browsing or for SMT for emails. Now, understanding the OSI model help us to diagnose network issues and design more efficient system. Each layer serves a distinct function, but together they ensure data travels securely and efficiently from one device to another. Here is are the layers. Also, I have been provided like for each layer, what sort of attack could there be a possibility. So, for example, we discuss about the physical layer in which we know that we are having the physical connections such as my cables and my switches that are going to carry the data. Now, in physical layer, what kind of attack could be a possibility? It's sniffing. Just like that, for data link, spoofing, MAC flooding is the possible attack. For network, we have men in the middle or ping of death, teardrop attacks. For transport, we have hijack, session hijacks, in flood, reconnaissance, different. For session, sorry, we have session hijacking, not for the transport. For the This is a TCP session hijack, not the session hijacking completely. Anyways, step number five session, we have hijacking as in XSS attacks, session side jacking, malware, etc. For presentation, we have phishing attacks, and at last, for the application, we have the exploit, okay, which we can directly submit to the application and get a control over it. So these are the different type of attacks that could work on the different type of layers in networking, and that's why I said that it's very important to understand the different layers of networking, how systems communicate with each other and all, because majority of the time hackers find a loop between these layers only, or how the communication is being made, and then they compromise it in order to hack you, okay, and get a control over your systems. So making sure that how all these layer works, how they communicate, you can quickly come across any sort of anomaly and you can say, oh, this could be an indicator of attack. Okay, anyways, moving ahead, this is just going to be the basics of cybersecurity. We won't be getting into too much details, but again, it's very easy and very interesting to go ahead with. So, anyways, let's go ahead and see what do we have next. Okay, now section three is for my Kali Linux OS. Now, once you have a good understanding of the network or the networking devices and all, you need tools to defend and test it. Now, and this is where Kali Linux comes in. Kali Linux is like the toolkit for our infrastructure. It's a powerful operating system used for penetration testing and familiarize yourself with these various tools and commands. It's going to be very helpful for you. Practice it using in a controlled environment to understand how to exploit vulnerabilities and test the security system. Now, your Kali Linux is a specialized operating system that is designed for penetration testing and security research. It comes pre-installed with hundreds of security tools that helps in identifying and exploiting vulnerabilities in system. Using Kali Linux is like equipping our infrastructure with the best tools and weapons to defend against potential threats. Kali Linux also include a wide range of tools for various security tasks such as network analysis, uh, apart from your Nmap, vulnerability scanning, password cracking, sorry, wireless attacks, and there are tons of tools like Nmap, Wireshark, Metasploit, and Aircrack NG. Okay, and they are like very powerful utilities at your disposal. The operating system is actually highly customizable, allowing users to modify and extend its capabilities to suit their specific needs. It also supports various platforms, which makes it versatile for different environment. And this is the operating system which we're gonna use for our penetration testing process. Anyways, moving ahead, let's see what else do we have? Now, our section 4, which is information security threats and vulnerability assessments. Now, we have our toolkit ready, like our Kali Linux is ready with us. Now, it's crucial to know what we are against, right? And thus, in this section, we will dive into understanding the various types of information security threats and how to assess these vulnerabilities. Now, this knowledge is key to protecting your systems effectively. Okay, now if we're going to see, we have different types of threats like the malware, phishing, ransomware, social engineering is a technique though. And then how we are going to perform our vulnerability assessments, where we're going to identify weakness, regular our assessments, and what sort of tools and techniques could be used. We are also going to have a small demonstration of vulnerability assessment. So just stick together. Okay, so moving ahead, let's talk about malware. Now, malware is basically short for malicious software, and it includes viruses, worms, trojans, and spyware. Now, these programs can damage or steal the data and disrupt system information. Think of malware as the intruder that is trying to breach your infrastructure. Okay, moving ahead, after malware, we have phishing. And phishing is actually involves tricking individuals into revealing sensitive information such as usernames, password, or credit card numbers. Now, this is often done through deceptive emails or websites that appear legitimate, but in real they are not actually. It's like a disguise that lets attackers slip through the gates. Moving ahead, we have then social engineering. And social engineering basically exploit human psychology to gain access to confidential information. Now, techniques include pretexting, baiting, and tailgating, and it's like a con artist sweet talking their way past your guards. Okay, and after that we have ransomware, which is a type of a malware that encrypts data and demands a ransom for its release. It also akin to a hostage situation where your data is held captive until you pay up. Now, we will be basically talking about the vulnerability assessments and all. So, what vulnerability assessment is actually all about? So, see, conducting vulnerability assessment is crucial to identify weakness in your system and application, just as you would regularly check your infrastructure for any sort of weak points. Now, identifying these weaknesses, a vulnerability assessment help us a lot. It involves scanning system and network to detect potential security gaps, and this proactive approach helps in finding issue before attackers can find them and exploit them. So let me go and show you a small demonstration. I am basically using Zap proxy. You can use Nasos, OpenVASL, tons of other tools which are available out there. Okay. And as security is not a one-time task but an ongoing process, regular assessments are very important, and they ensure that new vulnerabilities are been identified and addressed in a promptly manner. Now, in order to do find in order to perform vulnerability assessment, there are several tools and techniques which are used in it. And tool like Nasos, OpenVAS, Qualys can scan and identify vulnerabilities in your system. And techniques include penetration testing and security audits. For a demonstration purposes, okay, we are considering Zap proxy. So here I'm just gonna click on the automated scan, and here I'm going to provide a target. Okay, so just for a demonstration purposes, we are going to take WebSecure only. Let's see about their website. Also, while performing sort of annex, you have to always make sure that you have proper permission from the end party before you are proceeding ahead with it. Without permission or without proper following ethics, attacks, it may lead to like in consequences, dire consequences, I would say. Okay, so here you can see that I have provided a target here and I click over the attack, and right now what's happening that it's fetching about the target and giving me whatsoever the things they can come across. On this point here, I have the alert section, and here you can see like any alert that has been generated for this particular target has been applied there. So orange one are basically high, red flags are basically means critical, yellow basically means low, and blue basically means informational. So here you can see like in our high part we have received that we have sitemap.xml, and it's saying that it may lead to some sort of injection attack because the CSP header is not set. Now you obviously you have to go and try out like your own POC if that particular attack is working out there, yes or no. And if yes, yes, congratulations, you have successfully found a vulnerability and penetrated it. And now you're going to basically report it to the concerned authority, the concerned party, and then they're going to create a patch for it. And that's how basically things goes on when you're talking about in cybersecurity. You come across a weakness or you come across a vulnerability, you report it, and the other party will create a patch, and that vulnerability is no longer there for the hackers to exploit it. Anyways, moving ahead, here I have put a screenshot for OpenVAS. Okay, just like that, my Zap is giving me security details per here. Okay, my OpenVAS is going to give me like this. Okay, you can also also export this report, which you could share it with rest of your team members and see like what's their what are their views on it, or what sort of recommendation or security countermeasure they would like to suggest on here. Okay, so moving ahead now. Now, in cybersecurity, the another important concept comes out to be is the password security. It's a major concern. It's much like securing the keys to your room. Now, like studying different password cracking techniques like brute force attack, dictionary attack, and rainbow table. Okay, and this knowledge is basically gonna help you to implement stronger password policies and understand the importance of multi-factor authentication. So let's go ahead and see what are these different types of techniques. So first we have the brute force attack. So a brute force attack basically involved trying every possible combination of characters until the correct password is found. It's like trying every key in the in your room until one unlocks the door. It's time consuming, but it's effective against the weak password. I also have provided a command here which you could use in order to crack a password using brute force. And the tool which we are using here is Hydra. Okay, here I have provided a figure as well. So what happened? The attacker, they are having a guest list of username and password combination, like a list of possible username and a list of possible passwords. And then they're going to input into the tool, just like, let's say Hydra. So here I have put the L for my username and P for my password list. Okay, I'm going to provide both the path, like Hydra, capital L, my username list file, capital P, my password list, and then I'm going to mention like the target IP. And then what's going to happen that it's going to repeat all the possible case scenario from the username list and the password list. And it's going to repeat it until one is successful. And after that, we have our successful credentials. We got it. And that's how brute force attack actually works. Moving on, next, we have dictionary attack, and these attack actually use a predefined list of words or phrases to guess passwords. Now, it's similar to flipping through a dictionary to find the right word. Attackers often use common password phrases or personal information to increase their chances of success. And in this scenario, it's again very similar to the previous one, but here rather than trying each and every possible combination, here we are going to take the word as it is. We have it in a dictionary, and then we are going to launch it to the target. Now, if it's a guess correct, yes, we have successfully logged into the system. If it's not a correct guess,
Then we are going to come again to the bot part, and then it's going to take a guess from the dictionary file again, and that's the whole process is going to just repeat it again and again until we found valid credentials or we ran out of the words in our dictionary file. Now here for the demonstration purposes, I have provided a command using John tool. Okay, it's basically John the Ripper. Both tools, John and Hydra, are used for password cracking or password recovery. You could say the only difference between John and Hydra is that Hydra is used for online protocol. Let's say I want to crack password for SSH. So here I have it actually. So if I go here. Okay, I already having a SSH server running into the background. So let's go and try to crack the password of it. So Hydra hyphen L, because I know the username, so I'm going to put a small L. And the username is basically Molly. Okay, if I didn't know the username, I could have put the capital L, but at that time I have to provide it the username.txt file in which I'm going to have a possible username. Anyways, we know it, so just simply get into it. Hyphen P. Now we don't know the password, so for that we are going to use the rocku.txt file. Okay, wait a second. Mm, That's strange. Okay, now it's working. It's weird. In my caps lock on, it's typing like small words. It caps lock off. It's typing caps button. Okay. So, and we are trying to break the SSH protocol. So before we get into it, let me show it to you that yes, it's working on. So new tab, nmap hyphen p22, and my IP is this. Copy, paste. Okay, so you can see that port number 22 is open, and that's what we're trying to target here. Okay, using the tool Hydra. So what I have read, Hydra hyphen small l because I know the username, capital P because I don't know the password, so I'm providing the password list path, which in my case is rocky.txt, and the protocol we're trying to break is SSH. Let's say that you want to crack FTP, so you are just going to replace SSH with the FTP. It would be FTP colon slash slash and the target IP address. Now it's been done. Just press enter, and this is gonna take some time, but it's eventually gonna crack down the password if given the fact that it's available into the rocky.txt, and then it's gonna show to us. So by the time it's gonna take some time, let's jump back to our roadmap and see what are the other table we have. Oh, that's great. We have already cracked the password here. You can see that the host is this one, login username is Molly, and the password is sweet to be butterfly. And that's how we cracked it using Hydra. So that's what I said, that Hydra is a rule which we use in order to crack protocol password, okay, SMB, FTP, SSH. Whereas John is more of used to crack password for offline files. Let's say you have a zip file or you have a PDF which is password protected, you could use John in order to crack them out. Okay, so if you need to crack password for something offline, John is there. If you want to crack password for something online, Hydra is there. Okay. Though there are like lots of other tools like we have Medusa and all, which we'll be discussing about later on in coming presentations. But let's go ahead and see what are the different other attack techniques which we have. So the next one we have is a rainbow table, and the rainbow tables are basically pre-computed tables which are used to crack password hashes quickly. Instead of generating hashes for each password attempt, Rainbow Table stored pre-computed hashes for lots and lots of number of possible password, and it's like having a cheat sheet of pre-calculated hashes which you have. Okay, and here you can see in the path what we are having. For the password one, we are already having the hash. For the password two, we are already having the hash. For password three, we are already having the hash, and all of them are going to be stored in this table. Now, as soon as a user is going to provide a hash, okay, it's going to be compared against these tables, and as soon as a hash value is found, the password would be easily found out as well. For these, I have been introduced another tool which is cracking. I have underscore empty. You could use it. It come by default with your Kali Linux, and this is something which we use to perform rainbow table attacks. Now, while we have understand that the several password cracking techniques. Okay, it's also very important for us to understand uh, like uh, what are the countermeasures which we use. Okay, so first of all, we have is the strengthening password policies. So knowledge of these techniques help us in implementing stronger password policies. For example, in dictionary attack, we learned that we are going to take a simple keyword from a dictionary and then we're gonna apply it to into a password field. Now, there's a huge chance that a user is keeping their password related to their personal information. Let's say, for example, me. My password could be a combination of my mobile number and my first name and my last name. Or it could be a combination of my pet name, my vehicle number, my parents' house number, my birth date, my XYZ, anything, right? Now, when we have, and you know that getting all of this information is not a difficult task. You can simply go to someone's social media profile and you can get all of this information from there, like their date of birth, what school they went into, what they have studied, where they live, what are their parents' name, what is their spouse name, do they have any pets, do they have any vehicle, etc. etc. Like all of this information is available over the social media. Now, let's say I'm a malicious actor. I'm going to get all of this information and going to create a dictionary file for you. Okay, only you as a target. Now, in that case scenario, when I'm going to run this dictionary attack or even a brute force attack, the chances for me are much higher to crack down your password, because again, it could be a possibility that you kept your password easy and related to the things which you remember easily, just like your spouse name, parents name, date of birth, car number, etc., etc. Now, when you know this particular approach, okay, that how the hacker may compromise or crack your password, you're going to use the same technique into your password policy to strengthen it, right? That's the reason when I said that knowledge of these techniques helps you to implement stronger password policies. Okay, we are going to educate users about the risk and providing guidelines for creating complex password. Companies can also mitigate the risk of successful attack by implementing multi-factor authentication or 2FA. Now, a lot of you might have already know what a two-factor authentication is all about. It basically adds an extra layer of security beyond the password. Now, by requiring users to provide multiple forms of identification, such as a password and a unique code sent to their phone, companies can significantly reduce the risk of any unauthorized access. And that's what we had into our password cracking module. Now, moving on, the next section is where also very interesting, which is social engineering technique. Now, social engineering is like an enemy disguising themselves as a friend to gain entry into your infrastructure. And in this section, we will be exploring some common social engineering techniques and understand their implications, like what we have it. So, first technique, which is very, very important, is we have phishing. So, phishing basically involves sending deceptive emails or messages to trick individuals into revealing sensitive information such as password or financial data. It's like a Trojan horse disguised as a gift. Once inside, it can wreak havoc on your system. Okay, and here you can see we have an example as well, that an email that looks like it from a bank asking the recipient to click a link and log in to verify their account detail. These kind of scams are very, very much active into the industry these days. I would say like all around the globe, where you're going to receive a SMS like, okay, you have to update your password, or your debit or credit card is expired. Click here to renew it again, or click here to activate it again. But in real, that link is not from the bank. It's from the hacker. When you click on that link, a certain action could happen. A malware may get downloaded on your system, a keylogger might get active, okay, you might be redirected to another fake website. The chances are a number. So always make sure that whenever you're dealing with these emails or the messages, always check the authenticity of it. Obviously, we are going to discuss the countermeasures at the end. Still, like checking the authenticity of your SMSs, calls, or emails, whatever you're receiving is always the best point in order to protect yourself from the phishing attacks. Moving on, the next type of social engineering technique is your pretexting. And in pretexting, it involves creating a fabricated scenario to obtain information or to gain trust. It's like a con artist, which like who's posing as a legitimate authority figure to extract sensitive information. Now, by having a convincing tale, attackers manipulate their victims into divulging confidential information or confidential data. Just like see here on the right hand side of the figure, there's a trickster who impersonate as a target, someone like you trust. It could be a friend or someone. Or let me just share you a real life scam that is going on these days. That you're going to receive a message on Facebook, and that Facebook profile is going to have a name and profile image of your friend. Okay, or like from a Facebook friend, and then they're gonna ask you money by saying that they're in hospital, they need it urgent and all. Now, what's happening? First of all, they are impersonating someone who you already know or you like to trust. And next thing is that they're creating a situation of urgency. That by saying that we are in hospital, we need money, they're creating a situation of urgency which is not going to give you time to think about it. Okay, if there is anything wrong, or this is scam, is this legit, etc., etc. And now what will happen? You're gonna trust them. You're gonna like share sensitive information or end up sending up money, and then you are going to basically get harmed by these fraudster. So always make sure whenever you're receiving any sort of SMS, email, messages, phone calls, always check the authenticity of it. After pretexting, sorry, we have something called baiting. Now, baiting, as the name suggests, it involves enticing individuals with something desirable to exploit their curiosity or greed. Now, it's leaving a tempting lure to trap these victims. Attackers may offer free downloads, USB drives, or enticing baits containing the malware. Like, for example, if you go to any website who provides you pirated movies or software to download, you will always see there that there's like lots of pop-ups coming here and there, and some of them are click here to win your 5 lakh rupees cash prize, or win here to click here and get a free iPhone, for example. Right, so these are what the all of these are baiting. Okay, now these social engineering techniques manipulate human psychology in order to gain unauthorized access to the system or information, and attackers exploit trust, curiosity, or urgency to trick these individual or certain individuals into disclosing data or performing actions that can compromise the security. Now, how you can protect yourself from it? It's basically there are two things. You're first of all going to develop strategies. You're going to have a knowledge of social engineering tactics that helps you and your organization develop strategies to educate users and raise awareness about potential threats. By training employees to recognize and report suspicious activities, companies can mitigate the risk of successful attack. Also, implementing security measures such as your email filtering, user education awareness, multi-factor authentication can also help protect against social engineering attacks. Now, by creating a security conscious culture, organizations can strengthen their defense and reduce the likelihood of falling victim to the social engineering scams. And that's what we all had. Now the next one is we have the web application attacks, and this section is huge. Okay, there are lots and lots of different types of attack vectors which could be used in the web application. But for the general knowledge for the knowledge purposes, we are only considering three here. Okay, so first we have SQL injection.
Okay, and then we have cross-site scripting, cross-site request forgery, and then how we gonna protect ourselves from these kind of attack techniques as well. So let's go, and first of all, let's discuss about the cross SQL injection. So SQL injection basically involves inserting malicious SQL code into the fields of a web application to manipulate the database. It's basically a spy sneaking into your infrastructure through a hidden passage, and once inside, the attacker can access, modify, or delete the sensitive data. Like for example, here you can see the first request is a legit one where we are selecting a user basically from worm table, wum underscore table, where user is worm and password is worm2. Now this is a legit request which a user is going sending to the server. Whereas with the help of SQL injection techniques, what we could do is we are going to rewrite the same query in a certain format where we are mentioning the table name, which is worm table, but rather than providing the user ID, this time we are providing him 1 or 1 is equal to 1. Now we know that where or 1 is equal to 1 is always going to be a true condition, so the system is gonna satisfy it. And then for the password also we are going to provide a it's providing a true situation. Okay, and here also what's happening that the true conditions are going to match, and the hacker will get a unauthorized access into the database. Now they could modify the entries, delete the entries, add new entries. It's totally up to them. Following to the next, we have the cross-site scripting attacks, and these allow attackers to inject malicious script into web pages which are viewed by other users. Now, it's kind of planting false signs along the path which leads to your infrastructure and which eventually leads to unsuspecting visitors astray. Now, attackers can steal cookie, session tokens, or other sensitive information from the user, and then they can replay this token value on their own end, which will eventually lead to session hijacking. So cross-site scripting attacks, that's what they do. Here you can also see in the figure, this is the attacker. They understood, okay, that there's an application which is having a injection vulnerability, cross-site injection vulnerability. They inject the website with the XSS, and as soon as any website user, a legit website users come to the website, this script is going to be loaded into the background, and the attacker will receive the session cookie of the legit user. Okay, and that's how cross-site scripting attack actually works. Now this session cookie will help attacker to hijack the session from the legit user or replay it. Moving on, then next we have the cross-site request forgery or CSRF. It's CSRF basically exploit the trust a web application has in a user's browser. Here, the hacker trick the user into executing unintended action on a web application where they are authenticated. Now, it's like a forged letter persuading the like a watchman, for example, to open the gate for an imposter. Okay, so what could have happened here is, let's say this is the attacker. These attacker is going to have another website, a fraudulent website. Okay, and this website and this user is logged into a legit website. Now, the hacker we're going to have do is going to request into a hyperlink and send it to the visitor while the visitor is logged into the legit website. Now visitor, as soon as they're going to click on this, it's going to send a read request to the another website which is controlled by the attacker, and the website is going to validate the request for anything. It could be password reset, it could be transfer fund, it could be anything, and it could be handled by the hacker here. So CSRF attacks are yes, they are coming out into the all around the globe, and there are like lots of countermeasures which we can take care in place in order to protect ourselves from these attacks. So what sort of countermeasures we are talking about? First of all is we have the secure coding practices. So developers should follow secure coding practices to make sure that they have mitigated vulnerabilities in their application. And this include input validation, parameterized queries, output encoding to prevent SQL injection, XSS, and other kind of attacks. Apart from this, regular code review is also very important. In conducting regular code reviews helps identify and fix security flaws in web applications. By reviewing code changes and identifying potential vulnerabilities early in the development process, companies can reduce the risk of the exploitation. So by just having two security countermeasures, you could protect your application against SQL injection, cross-site scripting, cross-site request forgery, and all. But again, the infrastructure is so huge that just relying only over the input validation is not going to help you, as the attackers may find out lots of other entry points in order to compromise your application or compromise your infrastructure. So always make sure that these good practices are there in place, but they are not going to be your end resolution to protect you against from the attack. Okay, they are not the guarantee that you're going to be safe from the attack or not. They are just going to protect you or to a certain extent, but there are still going to be a lot of other endpoints by which our attacker may compromise you. Anyways, going ahead, we have the next section of mobile attacks, and as we know that in today's world, many people carry a part of themselves in a form of mobile devices. However, these devices are increasingly targeted by cyber threats, and in this section, we are going to explore common mobile attack and discuss strategies to protect against them. So first of all, we have the mobile malware. So the mobile malware includes viruses, trojans, and spyware which are designed to infect mobile devices. It's like a stealthy infiltrator slipping through the cracks in your infrastructure. Once inside, it can steal sensitive data, track user activities, or even take control of the device. After the mobile malware, we have insecure applications in our devices as well, who pose a significant risk to mobile devices. These apps may contain vulnerabilities that can be exploited by attackers to gain unauthorized access or compromise user data. It's like leaving a backdoor open, inviting intruders to exploit weaknesses in your infrastructure on your device. And after the insecure application, we have network spoofing, which involves tricking mobile devices into connecting a malicious network or impersonating legitimate ones. It's like setting up a fake checkpoint outside your infrastructure, which diverting all the endpoint to a dangerous path. Now, attacker can intercept sensitive data or launch man-in-the-middle attack. So for a device which we carry 24 into 7 with us and is having always a like active internet connection, how are we going to make sure that we are protected against a mobile attacks? So there's something first of all called app vetting. So you should vet mobile applications before allowing them on corporate devices, and this involves reviewing permissions, conducting code analysis, and assessing the reputation of app developers to ensure apps are secure and trustworthy. For example, you are getting two cloud drive option. First is from Google Drive, and second from the third party vendor, let's say Hacker Drive. Now it's pretty obvious that a Google Drive is going to have a much better reputation as compared to the later vendor. And when it comes for you to choose one, choosing a vendor with the like the higher ratings, positive outcomes, and all, it's much beneficial in a longer run. That's why assessing the reputation of the app developer to make sure if the app is secure or not is very important. And after app vetting, the next thing which we have is called MDM or mobile device management. And MDM solution basically help companies manage and secure mobile devices, including enforcing security policies, remotely wiping lost or stolen devices, and monitoring device activity on a regular basis. So as soon as there is some sort of anomaly, we can quickly take countermeasure against it and protect our device and our organization from cyber attacks. Now, by centralizing management and control, MDM solutions mitigate the risk for the mobile threats. So these are the countermeasures for the different attack techniques which have been used for the mobile devices. Now the next is we have the IoT and the other attacks. So IoT, we all know IoT basically means Internet of Things. Okay, and as our digital infrastructure expands, it now includes many smart devices that are connected to the internet, and that's what we basically call Internet of Things. However, the Internet of Things introducing new security challenges that we must addresses. And what are those? So let's quickly go and have a look at it. So, IoT devices often lack robust security features, which makes them vulnerable to exploitation by attackers. Weak passwords, outdated firmware, insecure communication protocol, lack of update mechanism, unsecure data transfer and storage, etc., 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 are some of the like the common security issues which we could observe in IoT devices. Okay. Now, now how the like how the IoT could lead to a potential for large scale attacks. The thing is that the connected nature of IoT devices creates the potential for large scale attacks. Now, compromised devices can be used to launch DDoS attack or distributed denial of service attacks, data breach, or even physical harm. It's like an army of infiltrators coordinating an assault on your infrastructure from multiple directions. Now, what sort of security measures can we take here? So, first of all, is a firmware update. Now, regular firmware updates help patch security vulnerabilities and improve the overall security posture of IoT devices. It's like reinforcing the walls of our infrastructure to withstand new threats and vulnerabilities. Okay, apart from this, we could segment our network as well. Our network segmentation involves dividing the network into smaller, isolated segments to limit the impact of potential breach. By separating IoT devices from critical system, companies can contain and mitigate the effects of attacks. It's like creating inner layer of defense within the infrastructure to protect your important assets. And that's how you can move with the IoT security vulnerabilities by making sure that your firmware is regularly updated and your segmentation is there. Now, which brings to our the next section, which is cloud. Now, a part of our infrastructures might be in the cloud as well, and a new frontier with its own set of challenges. Now, cloud computing brings tremendous benefit, but also introduce unique security concerns that we must address. In this section, we will explore the threats associated with cloud computing and discuss strategies to protect our cloud infrastructure. So first we have the data breach. So the data breach in the cloud can result in unauthorized access to sensitive information which is stored in cloud services. Attackers may exploit vulnerabilities in cloud configurations or compromise user accounts to gain access. It's like leaving the gates to our digital infrastructure wide and open, allowing intruders to plunder our valuable data. Just like with the data breaches, we also have insecure APIs. APIs, as we all know, are known as your application programming interfaces, and they can expose sensitive data or allow unauthorized access to cloud resources. Now, poorly designed or improperly configured APIs are common targets for attackers who are seeking to exploit weakness in cloud services. It's like leaving secret passage unlocked, providing easy access to the attackers. Now, with the data breach and insecure APIs, the another kind of attack which is very popular into the cloud computing is the account hijacking, which is a combination of social engineering attack and tactics. Now, an account hijacking occurs when attackers gains unauthorized access to cloud accounts, either through phishing attacks, credential theft, or weak authentication mechanisms. Once compromised, attackers can manipulate cloud resources, steal data, or launch further attack. It's like an imposter sneaking past the infrastructure defenses and disguise themselves as a trusted ally. So, what sort of security countermeasures can we have if we want to protect ourselves from cloud computing threats? So, we have two actually, which we could discuss as of now. First is my strong access control, where we are going to implement a robust access control to restrict access to cloud resources based on the principle of least privilege. Okay, there's something called RBAC, role based access control, and in that the lowest role is not going to have any sort of functionality in terms of reading or editing to the dashboard or to your system, and that's what we have the least privilege. Now this involves using strong authentication mechanism, enforcing role based access control, and monitoring user activities to detect suspicious behavior. Okay, apart from this, we can also have regular security assessment, where we are going to conduct a regular security assessment of cloud environments to identify vulnerabilities, misconfiguration, and compliances gaps. Now, this includes performing pen testing, vulnerability scanning, and compliance audits to ensure the security and the integrity of your cloud services. Now, going ahead, this was related to our cloud. Now, we are going to discuss that if our fortress or if our infrastructure is truly secure, yes or no. So, for that, what we're going to require, we are going to perform the pen testing. Now, to make sure that our infrastructure is truly secure, we need to regularly test its defenses. And penetration testing or pen testing is a crucial practice in cybersecurity that involves simulating attacks to identify vulnerabilities. Now let's delve into this fundamental of pen testing and understanding its key phases. Now key phases we have it planning, reconnaissance, scanning, exploitation and reporting. But I have here a much more bifurcated way of this diagram. So let's go and see what we have here. So penetration testing is like staging a mock siege on our infrastructure to identify weaknesses in its defenses. It's a proactive approach to security testing that helps uncover vulnerabilities before malicious actors could do. Now, by simulating real world attack scenarios, organization can assess their security posture and strengthen their defenses. So the first step of my pen testing is for planning, where my setup and all of these things are going out to be there. Now the planning phase involved defining the scope, objectives and methodology of the penetration test. It's like strategizing our approach before launching an assault on the infrastructure, ensuring we cover all the potential entry points and targets. After the planning part, after we have set up and everything, we are going to get into the reconnaissance phase, or you could say discovery or enumeration phase. Now in the reconnaissance phase, penetration gather information about the target environment, including the infrastructure, application, and what sort of security controls are there. It's like scouting the infrastructure parameter to identify vulnerabilities and potential weaknesses in the defenses. While we're doing reconnaissance, we will also be going up with the scanning process, which is going to involve actively scanning the target environment for vulnerabilities and misconfiguration. Now, this may include network scan, port scan, the vulnerability scan to identify any potential entry point for exploitation, and so on. Now, after my setup, discovery, enumeration, detection, we will be basically jumping on with the exploitation part as soon as we are going to come across any potential entry point for the exploitation. So, in exploitation phase, pen tester attempts to exploit identified vulnerabilities to gain unauthorized access or escalate privileges. Now it's like breaching the infrastructure and infiltrating the defenses to demonstrate the potential and impact of a successful attack. And in the post exploitation, we are going to see like how long our attack may could work, right? There could, because there could be a possibility that as soon as the I compromise the target machine, okay, its security countermeasures comes into the picture and I was kicked out. Okay, so I wasn't able, even though I was able to exploit the target, but I wasn't able to have a session going on for a longer time. So for that, we have come under the post exploitation, where we see that our exploitation practices is going to give us access of the target system for how long. And how long are we going to be undetected, right? So all of those points are going to come into that particular point. After that, we have reporting. It's one of the most important phases in this whole pen testing part, and it involves documenting the findings of your pen test and providing recommendation for remediation. A comprehensive report helps companies understand their security posture and prioritize remediation efforts to strengthen their defenses. Now, penetration testing is actually an important component of any cybersecurity program, which help companies identify and mitigate vulnerabilities in their system. By understanding the phase of pen testing and practicing these techniques in a controlled environment, we can have a better viewpoint on how to protect our assets and maintain a strong security posture. Now, this particular part provided you a comprehensive overview of pen testing fundamentals, including its phases and like the reinforced key concepts. I hope it's clear with you. As we are moving to the next topic, which is cryptography and breakdown. Now, what is cryptography first of all? So, cryptography is like the secret codes used by our infrastructure by machines to communicate in a secure manner. It plays a crucial role in cybersecurity by making sure that your confidentiality, integrity, and authenticity of data remains the same. Let's break down the principle of cryptography and understand its key components. So, as I told you, like the first thing, cryptography is just the science of encoding and decoding information to keep it secure from any kind of unauthorized access. It's like encoding message in a secret language that only the intended recipients can understand. In the context of cybersecurity, cryptography is essential for protecting sensitive data from prying eyes. Moving on, we have to have certain terminologies to go along with. So let's quickly jump onto it. So first we have the symmetric encryption. As the name suggests, symmetric encryption uses a single key to both encrypt and decrypt the data. It's like locking and unlocking a treasure chest with the same key. Both the sender and the recipient must possess the secret key to encrypt and decrypt the message in a secure manner. After symmetric encryption, we have asymmetric encryption. And again, as the name suggests, this side of encryption is going to use a pair of keys, a public key for encryption and a private key for decryption. It's like sending a locked box to someone with a key that only they can use to unlock it. This approach allows for secure communication without the need to exchange the secret keys beforehand. So it's much more secure. It's much more it's not as fast as your symmetric encryption. Why? Because in symmetric encryption we are only using same key to decrypt and encrypt the data, whereas in asymmetric we are using different keys. Going ahead, then we have hashing, and hashing is actually a one-way cryptographic function that converts a data into a fixed size string of characters. It's like compressing a message into a unique fingerprint that represent its original content. Hashing is commonly used to verify data integrity and securely store passwords. So here we have a plain text. We let it through with the hash function, and now we are going to have a hash text, or we can use say ciphertext, which doesn't make any sense as when you are going to compare it with the plain text. It's going to be entirely different. After that, we have digital signatures, and they basically provide a way to verify the authenticity and integrity of digital documents or of your messages. Just like WhatsApp says now that your conversational chat is end-to-end encrypted. So how did they make sure? By having the digital signatures. It's like signing a document with a unique seal that prove it came from a trusted source and has not been tampered with. Going ahead, we have certificates. Now, certificates are digital documents issued by the trusted authorities that bind cryptographic keys to the industry, to the identity of entities such as websites or individuals. It's sort of a passport that verifies someone's identity that allows them to securely engage in online transactions. Just like your websites, they have a SSL certificate. There's an example of your digital certificate. Okay, so before we jump to the last section and discuss like what sort of career opportunities are there for people in cybersecurity, let's wrap up the cryptography part. So we know that the cryptography is actually the cornerstone of modern cybersecurity, and it provides the foundation for secure communication and data protection. By understanding the principle of cryptography and applying cryptographic techniques such as encryption, hashing, digital signature, and certificates, we can ensure that the confidentiality, integrity, and authenticity of the data is of our data is still there. So now let's jump to the most interesting part of this whole roadmap. This are the career options. Okay. Now that you have a comprehensive understanding of the skills and knowledge that are required in cybersecurity, let's talk about the career opportunities that are available in this exciting field. So first of all, cybersecurity is a rapidly growing industry with a high demand for skilled professional. And here I have also attached some snapshots or screenshot you could say from my research, and it's clearly stating that there is a huge gap, a skill gap into the industry. So if you are thinking of getting into the cybersecurity as a career, it's going to turn out to be good for you because there's a huge gap for the profession into the market. And it's just not in India, it's also in Europe, it's also in America, it's also in like different parts of the world altogether that they have required cybersecurity professionals. Okay, and as in the initial slide which I showed you, the number of the cyber attacks are rising at an exponential rate. You know, by the year of 2028, we are going to have $13.8 trillion of loss. So this is an industry which is going to be there, okay, for a very very long time, and it's going to be required by all the big MNCs, even the medium businesses, even the small businesses. They are going to have it. So when we are having so much requirement into the market but we cannot fulfill it, okay, so we have this huge gap, and that's why I'm suggesting like choosing a career into the cyber security is really going to be beneficial for you from both the monetary purposes as well as from the personal growth part. So let's go and see like what are the different career options which we can get into cyber security. So here I have already provided a chart like from advanced level, mid level, entry level, and feeder roles. What are the different opportunities you can go with? But in a nutshell, if I explain, let me share some key roles that you might consider. So first is your security analyst, who are responsible for monitoring and protecting organization IT infrastructure, identifying and responding to security breaches. These are the people of security analysts, the security analyst team. After that, we have penetration testers, and they are responsible to conduct and simulate attacks on systems to identify and fix any vulnerabilities before malicious hackers can exploit them. After that, we have security consultants, one of my favorite. In this, they provide expert advice to organization on how to secure their systems and the data. Then we have security engineer who design and implement security solutions to protect the network and the systems. Then we have CISO as well, like one of the most senior position which we can have in the cybersecurity, CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, and they basically leads an organization cybersecurity strategy and the team. Now, from the internship and the entry level position, you could get started. You could go to the LinkedIn. You could find out into the lots of other job portals and all, and there are like lots of opportunities which are actually available there. And with this closure, that's the end of our comprehensive guide for the roadmap to cybersecurity. We have discussed lots of topics but not all of them in very detailed manner. We have only discussed the like the like the top like the 1 point like the 1% of it only. Okay, we have discussed about the hacking, how it is different from the malicious hacking. Okay, and then we have discussed about networking. What are the networking concepts? What are the devices they've been used? We have discussed about the OSI layer. We have discussed that how the like the communication take place within the OSI layer. Then the password cracking techniques, mobile attack vectors, cloud, different. In a nutshell, if I explain, cybersecurity is a vast, like a very big domain, and I'm pretty sure that you are 110% gonna find something for yourself there which you're gonna love. Okay, cybersecurity is just not limited to writing scripts. Okay, it's also managing the assets.
Okay, cybersecurity is just not limited to pen testing. It's also defining new policies, governance policy, privacy policy, user policy, and all. So from the management to the pen testing to the like the big people like the CISO and all, cybersecurity is gonna offer you everything. It's just totally up to you what interests you, in what particular thing you have the most fun, and then select that as your career option, and it's definitely gonna help you out with that. So that's all from my side. Thanks a lot for being a wonderful audience. I will be seeing you in the next chapters from Mr. Websecure into the cybersecurity.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.